three. Dagger! Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Well Beyond the Arc. I'm Manoli.
And I'm Montana.
And we'll be talking, as always, NBA basketball here for the next hour or so. Montana, I think there's just been a couple things in the news NBA-wise this week. Just a couple. So I think we got plenty to talk about.
Absolutely. Just a few, right?
Just a couple of things here and there. Well, we're into another week of NBA playoff basketball, and a couple things we want to get out of the way first. The NBA has awarded, or at least announced, a couple new awards over the last week or so. The NBA's Rookie of the Year for the 2021-22 season is Scottie Barnes of the Toronto Raptors, and the Most Improved Player award for the season handed out just a little while ago to Memphis Grizzlies' Ja Morant. Montana, any issues on your end on either one of those award choices?
Rookie of the Year, none at all. I mean, Scottie Barnes has played amazing. He's really shown out in the playoffs as well. That Raptors team obviously was down 3-0, got that game to 3-1, and now they're ahead 63-52 in the third. And he's had himself a pretty solid game that's helped keep them in it. He's scored 12 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Pretty solid stat line for the rookie. Definitely showing up when it matters. So no problems at all. Obviously, Mobley was right up there with him, in my opinion. But I would definitely give it to Barnes. I think they picked right. Now,
Nice.
Most Improved Player, we'd already discussed this last week, but someone was snubbed altogether, and that would be Jordan Poole. The improvement he has made, he deserved to be on that list, just on the list. He deserved to be on the list.
Sure.
Obviously, not Ja. The fact that Ja was viewed as an MVP candidate possibility at a point in the season and he's winning Most Improved Player, I get it, but it's also like I definitely think when we're looking at Most Improved, a player like Jordan Poole deserved it, and he got snubbed altogether. So we already discussed that last week, but Most Improved Player, I've got some questions about. Ja's amazing, and he definitely has improved, but he's kind of been that guy. A player like Jordan Poole, had all this G League time. I just really quickly saw this today. Before he got called up to play on the Warriors, he was thinking about becoming a video analyst for the Warriors and just giving up basketball altogether. So the fact that he was just in that position and now he's on a contender team and a part of a contender team, you got to at least have him on there. So my problems lie with Most Improved Player, but Ja obviously improved and had a great season. So no real problems there, just some questions, I'll say.
Yeah, stop me if you heard me say this before. I want to argue with you, but I can't. But I'll throw a couple of curveballs in here.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue. I'm not going to jump on my soapbox here and totally rip both choices. Scottie Barnes, obviously he's made a huge impact for the Toronto Raptors. They're in the playoffs. If they would have went with Evan Mobley, I wouldn't have had a problem with that either. Between those two guys, I think either one of them could have won it. Okay with Scottie Barnes, just like you. And he's playing through an injury. We'll talk more about that here in a second. Most Improved Player, looking up some stats last week, Ja Morant has, I think, either the second highest points per game average jump from last season to this season. He's taken that next step. He was a star, borderline all-star to a surefire all-star. So there has been improvement there. However, I think that, just like you, I think Jordan Poole should have got more consideration. I think he got snubbed out of being one of the top 3 finalists. I've been riding the Desmond Bane train all season long. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he should have got more consideration. Tyrese Maxey, the Philadelphia 76ers as well. I mean, his role has grown. We really didn't talk about him much, but I think that's kind of where I fall with the Most Improved Player. And shout out to Ja Morant, classy move. Not sure if you saw this earlier today, but once it was announced that Ja Morant had won Most Improved Player of the Year award, he had tweeted out a picture of the award in Desmond Bane's kitchen, and he said, "Hey, I left your award in the kitchen." Classy move. That's a hell of a teammate right there, and that's all that's going to do is improve team chemistry for those guys. So congratulations to both Scottie Barnes and Ja Morant. and Desmond Bain for having the award in his kitchen for a little while. Well, we mentioned Scottie Barnes' injury, and he's out there trying to get it out during the playoffs. A couple other injuries occurred while we were, in the last week or so. Bucks lost Chris Middleton to a sprained MCL. Not sure how long he's going to be out. That's a huge loss for the Bucks, although they haven't really missed him because they're beating the hell out of my Chicago Bulls without him. We talked a little Devin Booker, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. Of the Suns, he's out with a hamstring pull. He's probably going to be out for another week or two. Suns definitely miss him. Joel Embiid tore a ligament in his thumb, but a la Kobe Bryant, not that saying that they're the same player or very similar, he's going to gut it out. Apparently they can't make the injury worse, so something to keep an eye on as the 76ers advance in the playoffs. But there's one guy missing in action that everyone in the league's been talking about the last day or two, and he hasn't seen the floor for about a year, and everybody's waiting to see when he's going to come back, and that's the Nets' Ben Simmons. Unless you've been living under a rock the last couple of days, you've heard about how it was expected he was going to play in Game 4 tonight, and it didn't happen. So, Montana, what say you about the whole Ben Simmons situation?
Well, first of all, not that Ben Simmons was planning on coming back, because it does not look like he was, but he won't even have a chance now because the Celtics just beat the Nets 116 to 112 to officially sweep them from the playoffs. So, this is what I'm going to say first. I never expected Ben Simmons to suit up. I never expected it. He's had somewhat of a checkered past, both with injuries and also with some behavior stuff. The thing that made me look at him a little bit differently and not completely come down on him in Philadelphia was the guy had an entire fan base turned on him while he was still on the court, while he was still playing the last few games, and then also when he was sitting on the sidelines. To have an entire fan base, your fan base cheering against you, that would be hard. I don't blame him for not wanting to suit up. But the Brooklyn Nets picked you up for this exact reason. They needed that guy. They thought Ben Simmons was that guy. Obviously, when they picked him up, they didn't think he was going to play at first. I was fine with that. I was like, they're going to get him in either right before the playoffs to get him ready or right at the playoffs. That didn't happen.
What happened was,
and the thing that I don't like about Ben Simmons is I don't think he ever intended on playing this series. I don't think he ever intended on playing this series. I think that there was a lot of pressure from the organization, a lot of pressure from the players, because, again, they picked him up for this very instance. So I don't think he ever intended on playing. We see there was videos of him warming up and this and that, but Zion Williamson was doing dunks and warming up, and he's not going to play. Just because you warm up and you're practicing doesn't mean you're going to play. We've seen that with a few players. So I never believed in the hype, but I was hoping for his sake that he would lose that image of being kind of a pill, kind of a guy that doesn't want to compete. He doesn't seem like he wants it enough, because you just mentioned Joel Embiid. He's injured and he's going to play. He's getting surgery after the season. Ben Simmons doesn't even need surgery for what he has right now. He should be on the court, but he's never been a player in his entire career that has had that fight. Some athletes have it, some don't. Some will play through everything, some will play through nothing. He's one that will, honestly, in my opinion, play through nothing. So his image has just gotten worse. I do believe he's really injured. I don't doubt he's injured. I believe he's injured. He's been injury prone his whole season. The guy couldn't even play his actual rookie season because he was injured. So he's been injured off and on. He had some healthy years in Philly, had some decent years in Philly, but for the most part, he's bounced back and forth from injuries, and as of recent, he's had a lot of media backlash with some of the things, and it's never really been things he's said. That's another thing. He's not a very vocal guy.
He hasn't said anything.
People. Yeah, he hasn't said a single thing.
He hasn't said anything.
And that almost makes it worse, because we don't get his side of everything. Tell us how the fans in Philly were mistreating you. Tell us about these things. Don't let us hear from, all these other outside sources. Tell us personally. It doesn't have to be very long. Just make a media statement. Do something. Don't just sit in the background and just sit there. And he stands out. I mean, you saw him on the sidelines the other night, and his whole getup. I mean, he was definitely sticking out on the sideline. So he he is a player that is very skilled and has so much talent, but I think there's a lot of other things that play into it that kind of overshadow that talent. Um,
$33
really
million
quickly,
a year. That's what
yeah,
that's part of it.
yeah, that is. And really quickly, just briefly moving into the Nets as a whole. I don't want to stick on this for too long because I know that we're mainly focused on Ben Simmons, but this Nets team is one of the biggest disappointments in the last few years. I mean, for the
Yeah.
players they had and the hype they built up, even when they were in the play-in game, they had hype. They're like, they never had the full squad. Now they've got this. Now they've got that. They're ready. Well, they just got swept by the Celtics. They just
Yep.
got swept by Kyrie's old team. We just saw Kyrie, like I mentioned after their first game, I said Kyrie is going to disappear. Yes, he dropped 16 in game 3. Yes, he dropped 20 tonight. Kyrie should be dropping 28 or 30. So, excuse me, 26 to 30. I'm not going to say 28. He should be dropping 28 to 30 points. 26 to 30 points. Excuse me, I can't even talk tonight.
Definitely more than what he's doing. That's for sure.
No. KD, I will say, stood up tonight and dropped the most points he's had in the series, but he missed a couple of free throws that would have made the game a different game. So he choked. They choked. That 2018-2019 squad with D'Angelo Russell, Jared Dudley, a lot of role players, 6 feet, and at least won one game against Philly. I'm taking that 2018-2019 squad versus this team because we've seen it's not always about all the skill you have. You have to have the consistency. You have to have offense. You have to have defense. And this Nets team was just a circus. We're going to do all these offensive things. We're not going to play defense. We're going to be really inconsistent. And frankly, I'm glad they're out of the playoffs because I don't think they deserve to be in them in the first place with how they played. And there we go.
All right. Take a breath, sir. Take a breath. All right. Well, when you said that, you started thinking differently about Ben Simmons, I thought it was going to be about his wardrobe. I mean, some of those choices. I mean, we can say that about a lot of guys in the NBA. In the 80s and 90s, we had the human highlight film Dominique Wilkins. But nowadays we have the human highlighter in Ben Simmons. Look, Ben Simmons is an enigma. He hasn't, like you said, he hasn't said anything to the media. I mean, it's not necessarily our business, but he's not helping himself at all. And anybody in the Nets organization, or even the Philadelphia 76ers organization that, was leaking things here and there. But let's just stick with the Nets, even in the last couple of weeks, saying that they expect him to play game 4. Well, it's only been a couple of days since game 3. How come we couldn't play game 3? The guys on inside the NBA said the exact same thing. I couldn't agree with them more. Now, what has happened, at least the reasons that have been given for Ben Simmons not seeing the court this year are a couple different things. Number one, he wanted to be traded from Philadelphia. He made that perfectly clear in the offseason. And to Philadelphia's credit, they didn't trade him just because he wanted to be traded. They got a pretty good they got James Harden for it. That's more on that later. But it's a combination of a back injury, which you say is injured. I don't believe he's injured, but that's just me. Combination of a back injury and mental health issues. Now, I will say this. If there's truth to the mental health issues, mental health is a serious thing. I don't necessarily understand everything about it, but I do acknowledge that if that's truly what's happening, that is a serious thing, and I hope the kid gets the help that he needs. He's only 25, does have a bunch of talent, but I don't believe that either because I don't trust Ben Simmons. I don't trust the guy that passed up a wide open layup in last year's playoffs that could have changed his team's fortunes. I don't trust the guy that was saying, half-assed it in training camp with the 76ers because he pouted because he didn't want to be there. I don't trust the guy that wasn't even trying to get on the court with Philly. Then he gets his wish, which if I was the 76ers, I wouldn't have traded him, but I guess it was becoming too much of a circus there in Philly, so I can't blame him for that. He gets his wish and gets traded to Brooklyn. He got his get out of jail free card. He got his opportunity to get a clean slate and start all over again. Now, supposedly, he had a back injury. If it was a serious back injury, they should have announced it, shelved him, and all of this could have went away. But they kept on saying, well, maybe it'll be a couple more weeks. Maybe he'll miss a couple of games. At first, they were talking about holding him out until the Nets went back to the 76ers so he wouldn't have to deal with that. with the Philly fans, which, they're among the toughest in the league, if not the country, in all sports. And then they kept saying, "Oh, he might come back. He might come back. Oh, maybe he'll be able to play in the first round of the playoffs." And then just last week, during a Nets practice, they got footage of Ben Simmons dunking. And Ben Simmons went to ESPN beat reporter Nick Friedel and asked him, "Did you get that?" As far as meaning the footage of him dunking. So he wanted to show he was ready to play. And all of a sudden they announced, well, he'll probably play in game 4. Well, why couldn't he play in game 3? And then the Nets go down 3-0, and all of a sudden he doesn't play. Reggie Miller called it a punk move. Shaq called it a punk move. And I agree 100% with those guys. Now, again, if there's some sort of serious mental health issue, hope the kid gets everything that he needs as far as help goes. I do not trust him. I don't trust that he was injured. I don't trust that he had these mental health issues. I think he was too scared to play. I think he refused to play. And it cost the Nets a chance to compete for a championship. It might cost Steve Nash's coaching job. It's not the thing that he has to understand is it's affected your teammates. It's affected the organization. And all these bonehead moves that the Nets have made, and you're right, they've been a circus. If they didn't make the trade for James Harden, they wouldn't have got Ben Simmons. At least James Harden's playing for the 76ers. But they could have had a couple young guys, some picks, and Jared Allen in the middle. Not saying that Jared Allen's better than Ben Simmons, but he would have made a difference defensively. And Ben Simmons would have made a difference in this series defensively too. He's 6'10 long, a hell of a defender, uber athletic. With all those guys that we keep talking about with Boston, that 6'8 to 6'9, interchangeable, being able to switch off screens, Ben Simmons would have made an impact. Kyrie wouldn't have to handle the ball so much. You have to do something a little different with Kevin Durant on the defensive end. He would have made a difference, but he chose to quit on his team. I was never a fan of Ben Simmons to begin with because here's a little mini hot take. I happen to think that Ben Simmons is the most overrated NBA basketball player in the history of the league. I'm going to say it again. I think that Ben Simmons is the most overrated NBA basketball player of all time. I think he punked out, and the Nets, they took a chance on him. Now, they did get a good haul back in Andre Drummond, who's made a difference, and Seth Curry, another shooter, and you need shooters today. And they're getting 2 first-round picks from Philly, which are going to be late-round picks over the next couple of years. But I still think Brooklyn won the trade. But, man, I feel bad. I almost feel bad for the Nets fan base, but I don't. And I almost feel bad for Ben Simmons. No, I don't. I really don't feel bad for Ben Simmons.
No,
I mean, not when he's getting paid $33 million a year to look like a highlighter on the bench. Get your ass on the court.
No, yeah,
Rant
and I
over.
agree. And I honestly think that I do think that he was looking to coming back, and then he saw how down they were in the series, and then he probably didn't want his first game with Brooklyn. They get swept. I think had they won Game 3, I think we may have seen Ben Simmons in Game 4. I really do. I think he shied away from that because I've never really seen a competitive fire in him. He's talented. I've never seen a competitive fire, and every single time they've made the playoffs, even when he has played, he's almost disappeared just the same because he doesn't have that competitive fire. Talented, but not competitive.
Couldn't agree more. Well, from someone who's not competitive to one of the more competitive series out west and in the league altogether, we're talking Suns and Pelicans now. And we talked about Devin Booker being out with that hamstring injury. Huge blow to the Suns. But that series is tied up 2-2. The Suns showed me something in Game 3, getting that win without Devin Booker. But the Pelicans came back last night and took Game 4 in a 118-103 victory. Montana, are the Suns in trouble, or do you think they're able to pull it off against the surging Pelicans?
I'm going to be honest. I truly think that this Pelicans team is special, and the whole reason, not the whole reason, but a big reason is a Mr. Brandon Ingram. That he is real. Brandon Ingram is real, and this Pelicans team was the perfect place for him to be. He has stayed with the Pelicans, he's grown with the Pelicans, and now he is the Pelicans guy. And not only is he the Pelicans guy, he's one of the young guys that I think is one of the better ones in the league. He's a top 10 player his age and under, I would say. He is a really talented player. He's still really young. He has so much time. CJ McCollum, so much. He's a vet. He's got a lot of experience. He has a lot of playoff experience. He knows what it takes to win, and he's been on that half when he also knows how it is to lose. So you put one of the most talented young guys with a very tenured vet, you put them together, you're going to see something special. And that was under the radar. That CJ McCollum pickup was under the radar. No
Oh
one
yeah.
really looked at it. And I looked
Yeah.
at that right when it happened, and I was like, you know what? I bet you they're going to make this last push. Even just making the play-in would be huge. Well, making it past the plan and competing with the number one team. I think that this Pelicans team wins. I really do. I think this Pelicans team pulls it off. The Suns aren't helpless without Devin Booker, but it's very obvious who their guy is because without him, they're competing against this Pelicans team and they're losing. Now, could the Pelicans beat them with Devin Booker? Maybe. I would say it's less likely, but they definitely wouldn't beat them. I mean, it was 118 to 105 the other day, or let me check really quick. I had it pulled up.
118, 103 yesterday.
What they're not going to lose by that much with Devin Booker. So I think the series would be closer with Devin Booker, but I still think this Pelicans team would have a chance because of how special they are. Brandon Ingram had 30 points yesterday, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He is a scorer. When he came into the league his rookie year, I was like, this guy kind of reminds me of a young Kevin Durant. The way he played the game, looking at highlights of Kevin Durant's rookie season, and then actually I went to a couple of Brandon Ingram's rookie games when he was with the Lakers. Watching them play, I saw a lot of similarities. He is a scorer, but he's so much more than a scorer. But the fact that this guy is putting up 30 points like it's nothing against a pretty solid Suns team, even without Devin Booker, shows that he's the guy. So I think the Pelicans pull it off. Call it an upset if you want. I think the amount of skill that this Pelicans team have, it isn't an upset. If they had Devin Booker on the Suns, I would consider it an upset. Without Devin Booker, I think there's a pretty even playing ground, honestly. So I've got the Pelicans winning it. Man, when will Chris Paul win a ring? That's all I got to say.
Well, I'm with you on Brandon Ingram. I don't know if I necessarily agree with, Pelicans, pulling this out. What I will say is, are the Suns in trouble? A little bit, but I think the Suns, even without Devin Booker, still have enough to win. Everybody forgets this team did make the finals last year, and not just because of one guy, Devin Booker. They still have arguably the best leader in the league in CP3. Yes, he's 36, going on 37. I think he turns 37 next week, actually. Um, they have an all-defensive player, Mikal Bridges. They have a former number 1 overall pick in DeAndre Ayton, who, by the way, has played some of his best playoff basketball in games 3 and 4 of this series. Now, a couple other stats I'll throw at you. In New Orleans, the Suns have struggled from three-point range. The Suns won Game 3 in a close one. They lost Game 4. It wasn't so close as we talked about. But in Game 3, they went 4 of 26 from downtown. I don't expect a team that shot 36.4% over the regular season. Now, granted, that's with Devin Booker. He helps with that percentage, but you can't expect them to have another 4 for 26 game. And they didn't. They shot 7 of 27 from three-point land in Game 4. Not much better, but still well under average. I think when the Suns get back to Phoenix in Game 5, they need to make some adjustments. They need to throw guys at Brandon Ingram. But it's hard to do that when you have, probably, like you said, the most underrated pickup at the trade deadline in CJ McCollum. That dude is a stud. 20-point per game score. Huge pickup for the Pelicans. That's how Pelicans fans forget about Zion Williamson, who's too busy eating his way out of the league and refusing to play, doing his best Ben Simmons impression. But that's another story for another day. I think the Suns can win without Devin Booker. Now, could they win another series without Devin Booker when you get to the 4-5 matchup? Mavericks, Jazz, whoever that's going to be? No, absolutely not. Can the Pelicans win the series? Absolutely. It's open. The door is open. But I think the Suns have to take care of business at home in Game 5. CP3, Chris Paul has been alternating good games, bad games in this series. They need to get him some help, at least handling the ball. I think, Monty Williams, good coach. I think he'll make a couple adjustments, maybe have Cam Payne do some of the ball handling, at least bringing the ball down the court, especially when new all-pest team guard Jose Alvarado is guarding him. But kudos to the Pelicans. They have a better roster than many give them credit for, especially after a 3-for-16 start to the year. Who thought that the Pelicans were going to make the playoffs after that? I mean, I don't think either one of us had the Pelicans coming out of the play-in, but here they are. And you can only play who's on the schedule. You can only play who's available. I think the Suns can pull it out. It's going to go 6 or 7, obviously, with the 2-2 series. But I think if the Suns take care of business in Game 5, they have a shot to close it out in Game 6. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Suns in 6 here. But I will with the caveat of I do believe the Pelicans are fully capable of winning the series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think definitely it'll be close. Whoever wins it, I've got Pels in 7. I think that the Suns aren't going to go out without a fight, and that will result in another win. But I think this Pelicans team kind of sees that they can do this now, and with all the talent they have, if you all buy in, if you have the talent and you buy in, you have a pretty special situation. So I think we're going to
Sure.
see a really exciting rest of the series. I think whoever wins, it's going to be a hard fought series, and then they're going to have some. Whoever wins, I think, is going to have some troubles with who they play next.
Sure.
Specifically, the Pelicans. I don't see them making it past the second round. I think I have them winning this round and then being a pretty early 4 or 5 game in the next series. But you never know. I mean, I didn't think they were even going to make it past the play-in. I remember talking about it, and they are not the team. I think I had Clippers and Timberwolves. So
Yeah.
I didn't
Same.
have the Pelicans. I truly did not have them. And I think that they've really showed up. And I also think they've invested in their future with CJ McCollum. I don't think he was just, I mean, there were all these reports and all these people saying, oh, they just picked him up. Like, they're going to ship him out or not. Like, I think they're going to keep him around. I think they're going to build that core around a vet with CJ McCollum and a young gun with Brandon Ingram. Keep those two guys. Obviously, they have other talent I'm sure they'll keep, but build it around McCollum and Ingram because that is a combination that has really worked in such a short time. So
Yeah.
either way, Pelicans Suns exciting series. I'm glad it wasn't a 4-game sweep like I originally thought it was going to be. A little more exciting.
Sure. Well, if I'm Pelicans president GM David Griffin, maybe I look to trade Zion Williamson. I mean, I think there's a guy in Brooklyn who isn't playing much, so maybe just swap him out, and maybe Ben Simmons can not worry about having to play in a smaller market like New Orleans. Anyway, neither here nor there. It's time to head on to the game that is sweeping the nation. It's another edition of NBA Player or. If you missed last week, Montana had an epic performance, going a perfect 5 for 5. And for those of you keeping score at home, he is 12 of 15, batting .800 in NBA Player or. In week 2, or episode 2, excuse me, we did NBA Player or European Politician, followed by NBA Player or TV Weatherman. Last week, again, 5 for 5. I thought I was going to stump him with 90s TV sitcom characters, but Youngblood proved me wrong. So this week, though, we'll see. We'll find out a lot about Montana when we play NBA Player or boy band member. We'll find out more about Montana's music taste as well. But yes, NBA Player or boy band member. Now, I will warn you, Montana. Yes, there's, we qualify the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC as boy bands. But I got to try a little harder to stump you. So I'm going to go back in time too. We're talking possibly New Kids on the Block, maybe some big time Rush. Who knows?
All
So
right.
all I got to say is best of luck to you. Let's see if you can keep the streak going. And this is a little bit about how the game is played. If you've been watching our podcast over the last 4 weeks, you're very familiar. But for those that are new, if Montana gets the question wrong when I ask NBA player or if he gets it right, you will hear this sound.
Victory!
Thank you, Johnny Drama. And if Montana happens to get the question wrong, you will hear this sound. All right. Montana, you ready?
I am. Let's get into it.
All right. The first name, is this person an NBA player or member of a boy band? The first name is Nathan Morris. Nathan Morris. Boy band.
Victory!
That might have been the most confident I've ever seen Montana at this. Nathan Morris is a member of Boys to Men. And if you Google popular boy band names, yes, Boys to Men comes on there. All right, 1 for 1. He's on a streak, 6 in a row. I forgot what you did in the second one, so I'm just giving you credit for 6 in a row. All right, second name. Is this person an NBA player or boy band member? The name is Travis Knight. Travis Knight.
I'm gonna stick with boy band member.
And the streak is over. No. All right, I gotta be honest. I took a little joy in that one. All right, Travis Knight played in the NBA from 1996 to 2003 for the Los Angeles Lakers, Boston Celtics, and New York Knicks, averaging a robust 3.4 points per game in 371 career games. All right, let's see if we can start a new streak. One out of 2. All right, name number 3. Montana, is this an NBA player or boy band member? The name is Justin Williams. Justin Williams.
I'm gonna wow. I don't know if this is smart, but I'm gonna stick with boy band.
Oh no.
Man.
Justin Williams from the University of Wyoming. Played in the NBA from 2006 to 2008. Spent time with the Sacramento Kings and the Houston Rockets, averaging, just like our friend Travis Knight, 3.4 points per game.
Not off to a good start.
Not off to a good start. 1 for 3. All right, let's see if we can get back on track here. Name number 4. Is this person an NBA player or boy band member? The name is JJ Hickson. JJ Hickson.
Well, I'm gonna be smart with this one. I'm gonna go NBA player.
Victory!
You did go smart with this one.
All right.
JJ Hickson played from North Carolina State. Played in the NBA from 2008 to 2016. He was a former teammate of LeBron James with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and also played with the Sacramento Kings, Portland Trail Blazers, Denver Nuggets, and Washington Wizards, averaging 9.5 points per game in 534 games. All right, new streak started. We're 2 for 4 today. And now the 5th and final name of this list. Is this person an NBA player or boy band member? The name, Montana, is Brian Evans. Brian Evans.
I'm gonna stick with NBA player.
Victory!
That was a good choice, sir. Brian Evans, formerly of Indiana University, played for 3 teams during his NBA career from 1996 to 1999. Played for the Orlando Magic, New Jersey Nets, and Minnesota Timberwolves, averaging 3.7 points per game over 102 career games. Well, it was another 5 for 5 performance. I got you on a couple, but 3 for 5 still pretty damn good. Still beating Charles Barkley, that's for sure. It's raising you are now 15 of 20 in NBA player, a 750 batting average. That would definitely get you in the Hall of Fame. So, despite not having a perfect showing, well done, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we go from some great performances from NBA player or out of Montana to talking about our some of these exciting playoff series, and want to get into some of our favorite playoff series and some of our more disappointing series in our eyes. So let's start with the favorites. Let's start on a positive note. Montana, of all the series that are going on, I want you to pick one in particular, just one. Which of them is your favorite playoff series so far, and why?
I'm gonna go with the Jazz versus the Mavs. I think it's one of the most evenly matched first round. I think it's I don't want to say like in history, but it's within the last few years. I would say this is one of the most even first rounds we've seen. We are seeing 2 teams that are extremely talented. Obviously, last episode I called the Jazz the Cowboys of the NBA. I'm sticking with it, but obviously it's 2-2, and there's a really close game going on right now between them that's back and forth. So I'm going to go with that series just because of how back and forth and even it is. It's also really exciting to see players like Donovan Mitchell and Luka go head to head. Rudy Gobert, obviously. It's exciting to see some of these bigger names meet up in the first round and compete and make it an exciting series for the fans. So I'm going to go with Utah and Mavs. And honestly, at this point, it's anyone's series. They're tied. It's all tied up, and it's anyone's series. So I definitely think that this is one of the more exciting and also even. I don't really, seeing a sweep unless it's your team sweeping someone isn't that exciting. I like a series that at least has 5 or 6 games. So this
Sure.
Utah and Mavs game. I mean, it's definitely shaping up to be a 7. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to run to 7 games. I really do. So it's super exciting and definitely my favorite. What about you?
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that. The NBA also likes it when series go more than 4 games too. A little more
That's
cash
true.
in their pockets because we all know the NBA is hurting for money right now. Um, my favorite series is the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Two young and up and coming teams. Two teams that don't have a lot of franchise history of success. Now, granted, the Grizzlies have been in the playoffs a bunch over the last 10, 12 years, but relatively compared to other franchises in NBA history, these are two younger franchises that haven't had a lot of success, and two younger built teams as well. And the atmospheres in both the FedEx Forum and Target Center have been electric. Great games for the most part. You've had a number of whether it's the Timberwolves or the Grizzlies, one team will get out to a big lead, and then there seems to be a comeback in every game. But it seems like each game has been competitive. You have the John Morant coming out party along with you know Anthony Edwards of the Timberwolves, and Karl Anthony Towns. One game he shows up, the other game he's just doing one of these. For those that are listening on Spotify, I just threw my hands up in the air protesting a call like cat. Anyway, right now that series is 2-2 headed back to Memphis. It's not only exciting on the court because of the play between the two teams, but there have been a couple random protests, all related by the way, in 3 of the 4 games. Each of the game, a dumb luck. I've watched all 4 of those games, and there's been a protester coming out from the crowd protesting against Glenn Taylor. One lady tried to super glue herself to the floor, which okay, that wasn't really going to work. Another lady in Memphis in the same series decided to chain herself to the stanchion. That one got a little of attention and took them a little while to untangle her. But even last night, a woman sitting right behind current owner Glenn Taylor jumped out of her second row seat, and there's a security guard watching her and just spears her right then and there. So yeah, it's got a little WWE action, it's got a little protest action, but in all seriousness, the product on the floor has been phenomenal. Great series. That's what playoff basketball is all about. The passion from the fans, the intensity, the competitiveness. You can tell that both teams are hungry and both teams are coming. And I hope, selfishly, I hope this series goes 7.
And I think it very well could. I think honestly going into it, I was like, the Grizzlies have this, but they don't. I mean, they and it's not even like they should. This Timberwolves team is talented, and we're seeing Cat. Some games have been better than others. We're seeing Edwards. I mean, that kid is special, and
He's
we
a
see it.
stud.
He is
He's
an
a stud.
absolute stud. He is a player that we are going to see in MVP talks within the next few years. I definitely see him being up there within the next 4 or 5 seasons, closer to 3, 4. I see him being up in MVP talks. Do I see him winning one? I'm not going to try to go that far into the future, but I see him being in the talk. You know what I mean? So this Grizzlies team is talented, but this Timberwolves team is just as talented. And we are seeing one of the most exciting head to head we've seen in a while. And it's exciting on all accounts. I mean, we're seeing a fun game. We're seeing, crazy things happen off the court within the media between these two. John Morant's dad and Kat's dad were going back and forth. It's a
Yeah.
little banter, and Jaw's dad is at
You
every
mean Usher and Cat's dad?
going back and forth, and it's cool. I mean, it's it's fun to see because it's like it's competitive, but it's not a lot of like over the top crazy like fighting. Like it's gotten heated, but it's competitive, but it's competitive in the right way. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's fun to see them throw hands a little bit, but you don't want to see that for the
Sure.
game. You know, it's
No, because we don't promote violence here on Well
no,
Beyond the Arc. Not at all. Not at all. Just
definitely
why
not.
can't we all just get along?
Exactly. But if it happens, it happens, and it's entertaining. It's been entertaining at times. But obviously, you know, you don't want to see your favorite player get booted because he got in a fight or a
Absolutely.
coach gets. So, you know, we've seen this. This is a competitive series in all the right ways. So I'm really
Sure.
excited. I definitely can see this going to 7 games. I hope it goes to 7 games.
Yeah.
We may see a few round one, you know, series go to 7 games. I really think, like we talked about, you know, Pelicans and Suns. I think that's going to be a 6 or 7 series. I have it in 7, so we may see 3 7 game series in round one. That
Sure.
would be pretty cool to see. Obviously, anything could change, but I see 3 series that we've talked about today very well going to 6 or 7 games.
Yeah. Including the one that you picked, the Utah Mavs series. I can go 7.
That,
I mean,
yep,
more playoff basketball, more better in my opinion. So, and
absolutely.
honestly, if it wasn't for Chris Finch thinking he was Phil Jackson and letting the Minnesota Timberwolves play out during a run, a Grizzlies 21-0 run when Minnesota was up by like 27, the series could be 3-1. But thankfully, he screwed that up and gives us a chance at a 7-game series. Well, from favorite series, we got to go on to the negative here. Disappointing series. I know which one I'm more disappointed one, and those that know me best probably know what I'm going to say. But Montana, for you, which has been the most disappointing series of all of them that's going right now?
Nuggets Warriors. I honestly, we almost saw an MVP candidate who most likely will end up winning the MVP. I'm starting to think, you know, Jokic will win it, which not that he doesn't deserve it, but I obviously have Embiid over him. But I still see Jokic being the one that probably walks away with it. He, to see, I think it said he'd be the first, if he wins the MVP, the first MVP winner to be swept in the first. Something along those lines. There's some stat. Obviously now it's 3-1. They're back in it. They're playing the Warriors. The Warriors have control of this series. But I mean the Warriors have seen a 3-1 series before. So a little bit different. Obviously that
No
team that
jab
was
there.
down. Yeah. I mean, they've seen it, but I don't see the Nuggets coming back 3-1. I can see the Nuggets winning one more game and then the Warriors taking care of it. But I'm disappointed because I thought this was going to be a back and forth series. I'm like, okay, yeah, the Warriors have more shooters. You know, they're going to probably play a little bit outside. But this Nuggets team, in my opinion, should have been controlling and dominating the inside on the defense and offense. They have not done that. They have not done that at all. They have been taken for a ride in every single part of the game. You know, defense, offense. They didn't wake up until the last game. Obviously, they won. Pretty impressive game. It was back and forth. It was competitive. The Warriors didn't want them to win that. They didn't give them that game at all. The Nuggets fought. But I expected this to be a 6 game series. I still did have the Warriors coming out on top, but I thought this was going to be a 6 game series. Frankly, it could still be a 6 game series, but
Sure.
this Warriors team very well could take care of it next game and say, no, we're done. We gave you got
Especially
one,
at
but
home. Yep.
yeah, especially they don't want to lose there, and for the most part, that's a hard place to win at, especially come playoff time. So I
Yeah.
think this Warriors team takes care of it in this next game. Um, Very disappointed, like I just said. I really thought it was going to be a closer fought series. And the problem is this Nuggets team until this last game, even within the games before the final buzzer, it hasn't been that close throughout the whole game. You know, maybe they're down 8, maybe they're down 6, but you slowly see them get down 15, 16. We've seen them go down by a lot. I've never seen the Nuggets control this series until the last game.
Sure.
Um, Too little, too late. I definitely think so. Could they pull something off and make a push? Maybe we see another 7 game series. I really don't think that's going to happen. That would really shock me to see them make it past 6 games.
Sure.
I personally have them getting out in 5. I really do. I have the Warriors coming back and saying, nope, this is it, taking control of it, winning it. That's it. But I was disappointed because not only do you have Jokic, but you have some great players around him. you should not be down 3-1. Yes, the Warriors are the 2 seed, but I called the Nuggets my surprise playoff team, and I take that back because I am surprised, but not in a good way. So yeah, Nuggets Warriors is my pick
Okay.
for that.
Okay. I mean, look, good pick. And Jokic is still putting up numbers, but I think what the Warriors are doing is saying, and they're still playing some tough D and trying to be a little physical with Nikola Jokic. They're perfectly fine with letting Nikola Jokic get his numbers, but as long as they can shut out everybody else. And, that's difficult to do it. And you really see the Nuggets really missing key players with injuries. I mean, missing Jamal Murray, missing Michael Porter Jr. Those two guys on the Nuggets roster make this a completely different series. Different series. I still think the Warriors would um, come out of it with a victory, but it'd be a much harder. That would be a 7-game series right there.
Oh yeah.
That's two other guys that you have to guard on the court and take very seriously. Not that you wouldn't take the other players seriously, but you know what I mean. Um, I think the Warriors should close that one out at the Chase Center here, and send the Nuggets packing 1-2-3 Cancun. But I will give the Nuggets credit this type of credit. They were down 3-0. They could have just rolled over, get swept, be on their merry way, but they did show some fight. So I'll give Mike Malone and that squad some credit. They can very well win another game, and then the pressure goes back on the Warriors. But I'm with you. I think the Warriors handled business in Game 5. For me, to the surprise of absolutely no one that knows me and can't tell what team I root for by my hat and my shirt, is the Chicago Bulls and Milwaukee Bucks series. Now, it is the most disappointing series for me as a Bulls fan, but I can't say I'm overly surprised. Bulls are down 3-1. They had a chance to win in Milwaukee in Game 1. That was the game where Ian Eagle said, well, this game is like a rock fight because neither team could hit a bucket. It was kind of ugly to watch, and the Bulls had their chances. And in Milwaukee, if you watch a lot of Bucks games, even last year on their way to the NBA Finals, and even during the finals against the Sun, one thing that Milwaukee did, I think they still do, but not in the last 2 games, obviously, is let teams hang around and let teams get back into it. I think the difference here is the Bulls are the type of team that when they're down, they can't come back for whatever reason. When they're down, they'll make cut into a lead a little bit, but they won't come all the way back down from a 20-point victory, not or a 20-point deficit. Not often they do. Not this squad. So I think that's one adjustment that the Bucks have made is when they get up on big on a team, they're stepping on their throats. The Bulls are not the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors live and die by the jump shot, as Charles Barkley likes to say. I mean, they have a lot more ball movement and play a lot better defensively, but the Bulls aren't hitting shots either. They're not getting the 50-50 balls. You would think, at least I thought, after Game 2, when Chris Middleton got hurt and went down with an MCL sprain, they said he was going to be done for this series. I'm thinking, okay, we got a shot. Take advantage of the opportunity. And we're going back to Chicago? Like, come on. No. The Bucks just came out and posted 20-point victories. Chicago's new enemy number 1, Grayson Allen, had 2 big games in big games 3 and 4. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been playing up to his MVP caliber self. That's the type of player that you think that, let's let him get his and shut down the others. Well, the Bulls haven't shut down anybody. So I really don't see the Bulls with a chance in Game 5 back up in Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee takes care of business. I'm happy that the Bulls didn't get swept, but I would have thought that they would have came out and shown more fight in Games 3 and 4 at home at the United Center instead of getting blown out. Yeah, that's my disappointing series, and unfortunately, it's going to be almost time for the Bulls to say 1-2-3 Cancun. Hard to be critical of my team, but I give credit where credit's due and criticism where it's warranted. So, yep, Bulls Bucks.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was my second pick. The only reason it wasn't my first is I wasn't shocked, and we'd kind of talked about this going before this. We talked about I think it was the first episode we talked about if they were real or if they were a real team. And I think we both came to the conclusion that they are on their way of becoming a real team. They were a real team, but maybe not a real team this go around in these playoffs. I honestly am excited to see this Bulls team in the future. It's a super, super, super exciting squad. I think they're going to retain a lot of who they have. I think they're going to make some moves and kind of get ready for that next season. But great season from where they were last season and the few seasons before
Sure.
that. Just an amazing turnaround. So
Yeah.
props to them. that Bucks team is hot. I mean, that Bucks
Oh
team,
yeah,
is
defending
looking
champs.
like, yeah, and they're playing like it. They're defending that title. They really
Mhm.
are. So Bucks. I mean, playing the Bucks in round one is something you don't want to do. No matter who you are, no matter who was matched up with them, that would be a tough first round opponent.
Yeah.
Because they take care of business. So not super shocked, but I was hoping the Bulls would at least make it a 6-game, 7-game. At least, and maybe not even that, but just closer games, more,
Be a
better
little bit more
performances.
competitive.
Exactly,
Sure.
more
Sure.
competitive, better performances. Whether you win or lose, as long as it was more competitive, that may be a little bit of a different conversation. But yeah, it definitely disappointing, but lots of hope for the future for that team for sure.
Yeah, no, the arrow's pointed up. They got the right management in place. They're making good
Mhm.
moves. Bulls obviously miss Lonzo Ball tremendously. I never
Yes.
thought I would say that a couple of years ago. The Bulls would miss Lonzo Ball, but they do.
Mhm.
He's the primary ball handler. He can hit an outside shot. He's done unlike Ben Simmons. He's worked on his game and developed an outside jump shot. 6'6", long arms, can defend. They definitely miss him, but give credit to the Bucks, defending champions. People don't talk about that enough. The Bucks won the championship last year. This is a really good team. Chris Middleton or not, they have one of the best player, if not the best player in the league, in Giannis Antetokounmpo. They are deep. They have 3 All-Stars. I mean, Drew Holiday is an All-Star caliber player. Um, One thing the Bulls need going forward, and what the Bucks have, is a dog.
Mhm.
Just a guy that, a tough guy that will just, the dirty work. Someone that could be a fan favorite. That's Bobby Porter's to the Bucks. So I think the Bucks will continue to make a run in the Eastern Conference. I'm hoping the Bulls are competitive and forced to take Game 6. Just don't see it. So, well, in other news, not playoff related, the second coaching firing has occurred over the last couple of days. We had the Lakers firing Frank Vogel a little while ago. Some to be expected, a little bit of a scapegoat job, if you ask me. But coaches get credit, or the players get credit when they win, and the coaches get credit when they lose, meaning the blame when they lose. But anyway, James Borrego was fired from the Charlotte Hornets as head coach a few days ago, despite leading the Hornets back to the plan for the second year in a row. Montana, do you think the Hornets made a good move in firing head coach Borrego, or a good move?
They absolutely made the right decision. I mean, we definitely saw a progression in this Hornets team when he was the coach. There were some bright spots. I think that he did pretty well. I think that, and I'm not going to give him all credit. LaMelo Ball is a very talented player. Definitely, in my opinion, the most talented ball brother. And I mean, that'll be a conversation for another day because it's definitely him and Lonzo are different players. They share a lot of the same skill sets, but they're different players. But LaMelo is great. I truly think that his talent was properly grown through this coach. I think that the lineups, the rotations, and the way that that team was ran and going to the coach's benefit, that I think was a bright spot. But now they're ready to move forward and get that coach that's going to take them past the play-in. You've made the play-in 2 times. Well, let's go past that. Let's go past that and show the NBA that we're one of the most talented young teams that we've ever seen. I truly think the Charlotte team is one of the most talented younger teams that we've seen in a while, if ever. I really do. I think that they have a lot of talent, and I think they're going to make some moves outside of just the coach to boost them past just the play-in and into a playoff team. So I'm not super surprised. Respect to him. I do think, like I said, that his coaching benefited the team, but they're looking for that next step, and I don't think he would take them to the next step. I do think there'll be a lot of good candidates out there. There always are. So many qualified, talented candidates. So I do think that they'll find a really good coach that will bring them to the next level. Hey, maybe call LeVar Ball up. He knows LaMelo the best.
Oh
Let's
gosh.
give LeVar a chance. Let's get him on. I'd love to see some of his
Oh
post-game
no.
interviews. I'd love to
Oh
see his
no, he's gonna be
interviews.
wearing better baller brand suits, and oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Oh my. Yeah.
I saw, I don't know if you saw the commercial, but I saw the AT&T commercial with LaMelo Ball that aired this weekend, and the LeVar Ball Actually, a pretty good job, like LeVar Ball in that ad. But I saw him like, oh no, not this guy.
Yeah, no, he would
Oh
definitely be
man.
vocal, and he's always been vocal.
Oh no, he'd be vocal. He
He'd be
definitely. That's one thing. That's one thing
no,
he would be is vocal.
definitely.
Well,
But
look,
no,
I
yeah,
I think since Michael Jordan's taken ownership of the Charlotte franchise, I think the best move he's done is change the name from the Bobcats to the Hornets back. I think that was a smart move. Other than that, we can talk about a handful of other smart moves he's made. This one, I don't think was a smart move. I don't agree with it one bit. They've had a hard time getting a decent coaches in Charlotte. Borrego, yes, after 4 years, if you look at 4 years on paper, you expect a coach to make the playoffs after 4 years. From that aspect, I do understand the firing. However, if you look at it in a microcosm, last year they were 33 and 39, led them to the play-in game. This year, with an improving Eastern Conference, we talked about it last week in our East versus West debate, the Hornets improved by 10 games. And unfortunately, all that got them is the exact same spot, the 10 spot, and they couldn't do anything with it in the play-in game and got blown out in the play-in. But I would have thought a 10-game improvement, and obviously you've seen growth of LaMelo Ball. I think that some credit has to go to Borrego, like you said, for allowing him to grow and allowing him to play his game, right? I would have thought that would have warranted one more year. That you're saying the arrow go up. Now, I get the argument. Okay, let's bring somebody else in there to take this team to the next level. But have we really trusted Charlotte to do the right thing as far as personnel hires? Okay, they brought Steve Clifford in, but they really didn't get him a chance to succeed. They got an exciting roster, and what's going to be key for them is deciding what they're going to do with Miles Bridges. They didn't re-sign him to a contract, and they're going to let him test the free agency waters. He will be a restricted free agent, I believe, which means that Hornets could match any offer he gets, but they'll probably end up overpaying for Miles Bridges to bring him back, which I think they should. They have to decide what they're going to do with Gordon Hayward. He got hurt again, didn't really play much. He's making $30 million a year, but they have an exciting core: Bridges, LaMelo Ball. They got to stop signing Plumlees. Any of the Plumlee brothers. I don't care if they went to Duke or not. Stop signing Plumlees. But it's going to be interesting to see who they bring in as coach. The first call I would make, I'm not saying I would hire him, but if I was the Hornets, young team like that, I would make a call to Frank Vogel.
yep.
He just got fired from the Lakers. The man has a ring. Say what you want about him, about LeBron and AD being on that team, but Frank Vogel, even before the Lakers was a good coach, we talked about that before. Call Frank Vogel, at least give him an interview. I don't know if he'll fit, but I think he's a good coach. There's other guys out there, Terry Stotts. Don't tell it to the Portland guys, or Portland fans. The guy doesn't make many adjustments, but Terry Stotts is a name. The Van Gundys always seem to be up in the news and in job interviews. Jeff Van Gundy's been interviewing for head coaching jobs for 14 years, hasn't gotten any, but he's got a nice job in the booth, so I don't blame him. Mark Jackson's name might get brought up. Hell, you might even hear Kenny Smith. There's always that North Carolina connection between, Michael Jordan, hiring Carolina guys and things like that. Darvin Ham is an assistant, up and coming assistant, probably is due for a head coaching job. And another guy I'd like to see get another chance is Lloyd Pierce, who was the coach for Atlanta as well. I mean, there's some other names out there, but hopefully this is a good move for Charlotte and firing Borrego, and hopefully they can bring in someone that can be a good coach to lead this team to the next level.
And I totally agree. I think I can agree with giving him one. I can see like one more season because, like you said, it has been going up. Each season he's been there, it's been going up. But I do think they're in that win now, make it to the next level now. Yes, the process, we've heard trust the process. That's a 76ers excuse, if you ask me. So I don't believe in trust the process no matter what team it is. But I agree. I think I think the first person that you call up is Frank Vogel. I really do. The guy has a ring, and he earned it. He was a great coach. The Lakers were defensive monsters those first two seasons. This season not so much, but I'm not blaming that on him at all. He was that scapegoat. He was the person that everyone put the blame to. The best example of that is the last game of the season. You get LeBron, AD, all those guys are out. They pull off a win. Of course, Jokic wasn't playing. They pull off a win against a much more talented Nuggets team, even without Jokic. You got our young guys in that want to play. Frank Vogel knows how to coach those young and hungry guys. Get him on this Charlotte team. See what he can do. I guarantee you put Frank Vogel on that Charlotte team, and they're a 5th or 6th seed next season. Guarantee. I don't know if I can guarantee anything, but that's my thought. Is you put Vogel on a team that I think he gravitates to teams like that. I think he could coach a young and hungry team very well, and we've seen it before the Lakers. I mean, he's coached young and hungry teams before, young and hungry players. So I say you take a chance on him. I think that's the first number you call up.
Yeah, definitely agree. Well, it'll be interesting to see who Charlotte hires going forward. I'm sure that won't be the last coaching firing. There might be a guy in Brooklyn that might be looking for a new job and another coaching, but let's not talk about that until it happens. Well, we are coming to a close here on episode 5. Montana, you believe it? We've done 5 of these things. Episode 5 of Well Beyond the Arc here. Thank you for joining us. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't already, if you're watching this on YouTube, to the Yankee and the Brit. Our podcast is part of, as everyone knows, the Yankee and the Brit Sports Group. And also, Montana and I have some other projects we work on outside of this podcast. Montana, you want to tell our viewers and listeners about your other podcast?
Definitely. So I have another podcast called The Connor and Heffernan Show. We are on Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music. For the 5th episode in a row, I'm saying we're still trying to figure out Apple. Technical difficulties getting certified. Something messed up with our picture. Our cover art is messed up, and Apple keeps rejecting it. But we are finally on YouTube as well. We have no videos. Nothing has been done on the channel, but you can find us on YouTube as well at The Connor and Heffernan Show. Most likely we'll have our first YouTube podcast video out next week. So definitely be sure to check that out.
Absolutely. I'll be checking that out myself. Also, please don't forget to head over to my blog, the sportspageblog.com. Just released a new entry a couple days ago about random NFL Hall of Famers playing for teams you didn't think you'd ever see them play. Spoiler alert, and I didn't know this, Broadway Joe Nathan played for the Rams. Who knew? Probably most of the country. Well, thanks again for joining us, and to the GMs of the New Orleans Pelicans and Brooklyn Nets. Listen, Zion and Ben Simmons don't want to play, and these guys are making at least 10 million in Zion's case, Ben Simmons 33 million. I will take the league minimum to warm up, dress for the team. You don't have to play me. Just I'll be in there. Put me on the league minimum. I'll be on your squad. Call me. So long, everybody.